Okay, welcome back to the Investigative Journal on this November 23rd, Monday, 2015 day on our calendar. I'm your host, Greg Anthony. You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com, and you can listen to my show every evening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's on FirstAmendmentRadio.com. And on this Monday, before Thanksgiving week, and I wish you all a great Thanksgiving, and hopefully you'll get together with your family members and enjoy yourself, catch up on old times, and spend a good weekend and Thanksgiving Day with them. Today I want to continue what I was talking about Thursday with Bert Krantz from the Alamo Ministry. And in this show I want to feature a former FBI agent named John Peeler, who was assigned to he was assigned undercover work for the FBI. And one of his jobs, one of his tasks was to find some dirt on the Alamo Ministry. And he did that. He tried to. And he basically came up dry. And what I mean by that is it was a great story in a sense. Back in 2006, I covered it many times. He'd been on my show numerous times talking about this, talking about how the Alamo Ministry has been targeted for their views regarding the Vatican since 1988, at least from John's knowledge with the FBI. And he wasn't ashamed to give names of his superiors, which you can find my shows on my website at arcticbeacon.com. If you go to Arctic Beacon, first you got to spell it right. Many people I found spell it Arctic, A-R-T-I-C. It's not. That's not the proper way. It's Arctic. It's ARCTIC-BEACON.com. And there's a little aside to why I named my website that years ago, and I have really I'll tell that story another time because I want to continue with Peeler. So Peeler was assigned by the FBI as an undercover agent to. He had other assignments. Alamo Ministry wasn't his first, and basically came to the conclusion that they weren't a threat. The only thing they were doing was talking about the Bible, doing good things in the community, he said, feeding the hungry, allowing people to open door church policy to come in and worship with them, to eat if they were hungry, etc., etc. And he also said that the reason they were targeted was because of many of the publications and the message that Tony and the ministry tried to tell the world regarding the Vatican being one, outed as the Antichrist in the book of Revelations in the Bible, which many pastors who are now in the ecumenical movement in Protestantism, which I think is the biggest problem in our country, they somehow ignore that. And it's done purposely so that they get their 501c3 money, and the Vatican isn't depicted as the Antichrist. Now, do you think that if every Protestant church would act as if the Reformers did during the Protestant Reformation, do you think the Pope would have been allowed to come in and speak to Congress between those two fascist symbols? I mean, when you go look at those two symbols, that's what your government is. Check it out, fascist symbols in the House of Representatives, right there in the podium. One on each side, just as they did in the Roman Empire. Now, so Peeler said they were targeted for that reason. He was not. Peeler's from Arkansas. He pinpointed Clinton as not as wanting Tony Alamo Ministry to come to its knees, and the major reason was that they were getting out millions and millions of brochures regarding the Vatican stance, not only as the Antichrist in the Bible, but the abomination of the whole world. And as I researched the Vatican from my time in Rome, throughout the course of history, they've been involved in every conflict almost known to man, somehow inciting violence, but yet hiding behind the cloak of Jesus and Christianity. And nothing has changed today with ISIS. And I've gotten into many shows regarding that if you go to my website. The pundits always, right now you'll read story after story. People send me hundreds of stories regarding ISIS, regarding terrorism, but many of them fail to connect the dots to the Vatican, and that is a huge mistake. I presented a show last week about a priest in Syria, a Jesuit priest. And if you read that story, you'll understand how they operate. His name is Father Dal Oglio, Glio. Now back to Peeler. So Peeler comes forward and tells me all these things. Tells me how he couldn't find anything on Alamo. He told me how they were targeting him and how even in 2006 they were planning a raid, which occurred in 2008. So I interviewed John, and I asked, because I wanted to know the truth about the Alamo Ministry. And as the story progressed, as the raid came down, which I've covered, as the trial of Tony took place, as all these kids were stolen, as the property's now being taken away, Peeler's words rang true, and so did Alamo's years and years ago, when he was telling us about all these different things that are going on in the country and what's about to occur. And his words were ringing true as of today, as he sits in jail for 175 years. As he sits in jail for 175 years for a crime he didn't commit. And the reason I cover this story is it brings together in a practical sense, in a real sense, so you can see it play out in front of you. And it isn't just theory and history, because this story brings together everything. The Vatican's involvement in our governmental affairs, obviously so, since we saw the Pope telling our government leaders exactly what he wants and allowing him that stage. And also pinpointing the church's, the Protestants' failure to recognize this and how they become part of the Vatican, annexed by the Vatican. So what happens to Peeler? I'm dedicating this show to let you know about him. And what I'm going to do is start out. This is a conversation. He called the ministry after he realized what was going on, after he realized he left the FBI over this story and started to tell the truth. And he paid the price as well. And I've gotten into that part of the story because his son was framed for a murder charge due to this, for him coming forward and talking. And his son was in the military at the time and still, I believe, sits in jail and was framed on a murder charge. And this was kind of retribution for Peeler coming forward. So Peeler comes forward and says the Alamo Ministry has been targeted, at least from his knowledge, since 1988 for their views on the Vatican and the government, as well as his views regarding telling the world this, and hundreds of thousands and millions of brochures sent all over the world, so people could understand really what is happening. That was his only, and to the New World Order, that is a threat. So what I wanted to do, Peeler actually, when he realized that the Alamo Ministry was clean, so was Tony, he decides to call them and let them know some things. And this is a taped conversation. I wasn't aware of this. Someone sent it to me. And this is him calling the ministry, John Peeler, this guy, FBI agent who basically quit, told them he couldn't do this any longer and that there was nothing on Alamo. Alamo wasn't a threat at all. He wasn't doing anything wrong. There weren't guns in the ministry. He was only doing what he felt was right and telling the truth about the way the reformers talked about the Vatican during the Protestant Reformation, as well as what the Vatican's role is in all of these countries they're involved in. Do you realize they have over 200 concordats with countries around the world? And those concordats are legal documents which give them some type of inside route to the government money. So let's listen to Peeler's call to the Alamo Ministry, in a sense, to let them know who he was, what what he found out, and basically he was commenting about an article that Tony wrote called Pearl Harbor, and said he was right on the money. So let's listen to John Peeler talk about this, as he calls in the Alamo Ministry. And then after that, I'm going to play an old interview with him that I did in 2006.
You have my permission to record this conversation if you would like to.
All right.
It might be interesting to you if you're able to do so. Are you able to do that?
Yes.
Okay, well, please do. Anyway.
What's your name?
Okay, my name is John Gary Peeler, P-E-E-L-E-R, like in potato.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I live at 4801 North Cedar Street, North Little Rock, Arkansas, 722, let me look at my zip code, 72, I'll get here in a minute, 721, 72116-6482. Okay, and my telephone number is area 501-758-1352. Okay, and recently, in the last, a few weeks ago, I was taken to the FBI office and threatened and interrogated in Little Rock, and the reason I wasn't given a polygraph test.
Okay, just a minute, this a little slower.
I'd read your recent newsletter about another Pearl Harbor, and Tony Alamo is 100% correct. I volunteered and went undercover and worked undercover for the United States government, for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, a task force that was made of different agencies in 1988. Okay, and back then the Klan was in Arkansas was getting to be a big thing, and they joined up with some Muslims, and they were getting ready to do some dirty work.
Can you hold on just a moment again?
I'm sorry, what?
Hold on just a moment.
Okay. So what happened? The Klan didn't have any money back then in '88. They were getting loan money and loan membership. So they joined up with some Muslim terrorists, and because they both hate the Jews and want to overthrow the United States government. You see what I'm saying? It made sense to them at the time, because they hate Jews and want to overthrow the United States government. So I met with these leaders like Mr. Wilbur Hale, the high Phineas priest, the Klan. To be a Phineas priest, you have to murder two people in cold blood that they tell you to murder. I mean, it's something that you don't get very easily. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, I was undercover in these organizations and stuff. I had the best intentions in the world. I wanted to stop the black church burnings and to stop the Rehowa. Do you know what the Rehowa is?
No.
That's good. Okay, that means you don't know much about the Klan, because that means the racial and holy war. That's what they were wanting to start a racial and holy war to tear the country apart to where the white supremacy people could take over. So anyway, what I did, I had the best intentions in the world. But when I was with the ATF, with Bill Buford and Glenn Jordan and all these guys and Secret Service agents, Kenneth Edwards and these people, they forced me, they got ways of forcing people to do things. They forced me to target certain people that they didn't like. You know what I'm saying? Some of the people were bad people, some of the people in my position, God is the only judge of what people really are. You know what I'm saying? But they had a targeted list. And one of the interesting things that you will find about the targeted list is Tony Alamo, ever since 1988, he's been on that list, to my knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of the government list of things to do. In fact, I refuse. One of the reasons I had a falling out with the government is I refused to target, befriend, and entrap and frame Tony Alamo. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't go up there. I went up there one time, talked to a few of the people and stuff, and then I refused to go up there. Were nice Christian people. I couldn't find no fault with them. You know what I'm saying? So I refused to target, befriend, or entrap any of these people in Arkansas. And I was talking to some of the people. I didn't go to the center. I talked to some people at a restaurant that were members of the Alamo Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Real nice people. But I told the government that I just like when I read Tony Alamo's, his current newsletter that I've got here in the desk in front of me about another Pearl Harbor, that sent chills up through my spine, because he is 100% correct. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the American people won't believe him, but he's 100% correct.
Right.
Because I watch the History Channel and study history. I'm working on a degree in history right now myself. I got a degree from the University of Arkansas Little Rock, but I'm working on a master's degree in history. But anyway, the president, a lot of people knew about Pearl Harbor, but there were a lot of Germans in America. We didn't want to go to war against Germany. We'd go to war against Japan. So they knew that Pearl Harbor was going to happen. But hold on, I need to drink.
Yeah.
It's all all tears me up, all this stuff, because it's so many people and so many deaths involved. Because, see, when I was undercover with these people, okay, the people that I was with, the Klan and these people, the Muslims and the Klan people I was with, they were planning to blow up the Oklahoma Federal Building and the World Trade Center. Was two of their main targets they had, according to all their Turner diaries and all their literature and all their stuff they put out. I helped them plan both of these things. You say, well, I'm not proud of it. I'm just telling you the truth.
Right.
I helped them plan it, but the government swore to me they were going to stop it before the incident was executed. You see what I'm saying? I met Tim Tuttle 5 different times in Arkansas and went one time to Oklahoma Federal Building to check it out to see how much explosive info would be involved we would take to blow up the building. But I was under the impression that the government gave me that they were going to stop it before it happened. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anyway, they didn't stop it, obviously. But you need to get another line.
That's okay.
Okay. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, but anyway, what happened is the government, see, we busted some of these people that were involved in stuff, but the government didn't think they might carry through on this stuff. But what they did, they jumped in the ball game. They were about to do away with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms because of the Ruby Ridge thing and all this stuff and combine them with the FBI. They were doing away with a lot of CIA agent positions because the Cold War with Russia was, gearing down. So anyway, all these agents were going to be out of trouble, out of jobs and stuff. So anyway, what they did, they knowingly allowed the Oklahoma thing to happen, and the reason they let it happen is because their budget went up 3 to 5 times. Their number of agents went up 3 times. Right after it happened, Congress and the American people were ready to give them all the power and all the money they wanted and to keep the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms going. But anyway, the stuff I'm telling you about right now, anyway, before they executed Tim Tuttle, also known as Timothy James McVeigh, he told them that he knew that I was undercover with the feds, and that I was more involved and knew more about the Oklahoma bombing than he did. So what he did, he got in touch. Well, the BBC was not allowed to get in touch with him or talk to him, but through his lawyers and stuff, he got in touch with them, gave them my address and phone number, and they called me up and asked permission and came down on my doorstep and did an interview with me about my involvement in the Oklahoma bombing. To my knowledge, it's only about a 30-minute special, and I'm only on it for a few minutes. But anyway, I told them all the people that they needed to talk to and so forth, and they went to talk to all these people, and they talked to them. And the name of the show on the BBC channel, the biggest channel in the world, Channel 4, was The Secret Rulers of the World was the name of the production. I've got a copy. I'd like to share it with y'all sometime if I can get a copy of it made or something to send to you or something.
Right.
But right now, I want to send you a letter with some written information in it, and you have my permission to send any of your people down, talk to me, give me an interview. But let me tell you, I can prove for a fact that I'm ashamed of it, and I hate it that it happened the way it did with my government involvement, but I can prove 100% that I was involved in the Oklahoma bombing, in the World Trade Center #1 and #2 attack. I wrote letters to President. I wrote a letter to Bush. Well, the first one, I wrote a letter 3 weeks before the Oklahoma bombing to the president to warn him about it because I was afraid they was going to go ahead and let it go through. But they went ahead and let it go through and happen anyway. But so what I did 3 months before the World Trade Center second attack, I wrote a letter to Mayor Giuliani and the President of the United States. And anyway, the FBI, that's one reason they interviewed me this last month and took me into their station. Well, they came to my house and threatened me and had me go down to the FBI headquarters in Little Rock and take a polygraph test about my involvement in the Oklahoma bombing, the World Trade Center 1 and 2 attacks. And, okay, another thing I was involved in was the Waco murders. Anyway, I was in Bill Buford's office at TCBY building in Little Rock, talking to him about the book of Revelation, the most misunderstood book of the Bible. And anyway, we were talking about it and so forth, and I volunteered to go to Waco to be on what they call I didn't get to go and didn't go, thank God, but I volunteered to go to the Waco turkey shoot. They told me they were taking the most ammunition, the most weapons they ever took in the United States to a bust, and that they did not plan to take David Koresh alive. They planned to kill him. This is before they went down there. And I talked to Bill Buford and Glenn Jordan and other agents in Arbus, and Bill Buford told me, I said, well, just because they say they're a Christian group, I said, you better be sure to watch your ass. Guess where he got shot at? He's the one that was upstairs in the video shooting down, and they're shooting up, and they shoot him 3 times in the rear end. Once with a 7.62 x 39 millimeter AK round, and he gets 2 bullets from a 5.56 millimeter 223 round, in the rear end, because they're shooting up and he's shooting down. He's got a flak jacket and a ballistic helmet on. But, they went down there to kill those people. They didn't go down there to arrest anyone. You see what I'm saying? And I can take a polygraph, do anything you want, and prove they did it. But I'm just telling you that they wanted me to frame Tony Alamo, and he's been on the list, to my knowledge, since 1988. I did not frame him. I did not even get involved with your organization. I've been told by everyone I've talked to about your organization that it's a great organization. That's the reason I didn't do it. But because I didn't do that, because I didn't do a few other things the government wanted me to do, they tried to frame me for murder, capital murder here in Arkansas. So what they did, they weren't able to frame me for murder because I had been in a shootout on a deal that I did, and I had a bullet in my right lung and was in an auction tent at the time and date they gave they didn't know, most of the agents didn't know that I'd been involved in this confrontation. So I was in a hospital in an auction tank at the time and date they gave the confrontation. So they were unable to frame me, so they framed my youngest son. He was a Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps. Hold on, I need a drink.
Yeah.
They framed him for murder, capital murder. But anyway, he got life in prison without parole here in Arkansas. He's in the Bricky unit. There's no body. There's no weapon. There's no blood. There's no hair. There's no forensic evidence and no eyewitness. Just some people that the government and the Klan got together and said to say that he said that he killed a person. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There was a missing person. Mm-hmm. There is zero evidence, and he's been down 7 years and doing life without prison. And, I'm not blaming Tony Alamo. I refuse to target and frame Tony Alamo because I couldn't find, the people that I did frame, they were at least bad people, you know what I'm saying? Leaders of the Klan and wanted to destroy the government and overthrow things and stuff. I mean, I'm sorry that I did it now for my sake and my son's sake and everybody's sake. But the deal is, at the time, I thought that I was helping the government out and getting the bad people. I didn't realize that the people I was working with were the really, really bad people. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think about the information I just gave you, your personal view?
Well, it's a tremendous exposing.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to relay all this information to Pastor Alamo.
To who?
To Pastor Alamo.
I would appreciate it very much, but look here.
I mean, immediately.
Well, I appreciate that, but give him my name and number and tell him I'll be glad to submit something to your newsletter. I'll be glad to talk to you. I'll go on TV. But see, what it is, people don't realize in America.
You know what I'd like to do? With your number, I would like to call him and tell him, are you going to be available today?
Yeah, off and on. Yes, I'll be.
Because what you've told me, I do have on tape.
Okay, that's wonderful.
But I'd also like, if she can talk to you, that would be better.
I'll talk. What was your name?
My name is Joan.
Joan?
Joan. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, why am I hearing it's a little bad? I've been around too many explosions and stuff. Joan, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Joan, it's a pleasure talking to you, and you have my permission to share the information I just gave you with anybody you want to. But I'm saying...
Okay, so I'm going to break it off there. We're going into a break and then come back and finish up this telephone conversation from John Peeler to the Alamo Ministry in 2003, I believe. Quite a story. And then I'm going to play an interview I did with him. I did many. I'll pick out one in 2006. Back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com worldwide. Freedom is never free. We need your support today at FirstAmendmentRadio.com.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188.
Okay, we're back for the second half hour of the Investigative Journal on this November 23rd, 2015 day on our calendar. Again, I'm your host, Greg Anthony, and let's get back to this never played before on radio interview or phone call from John Peeler to the Alamo Ministry, explaining how the FBI had targeted this ministry for its views, both its spiritual and secular views. So you're saying we have freedom of religion in this country? Yes, you do, if you're a member of the Roman Catholic Church.
The information I just gave you with anybody you want to. Because I'm saying the news people here in Little Rock, I've talked to them, they know all about the things I'm telling you, but they refuse to, the government gives them their sources of information, and they publish what the government tells them to publish, Joan. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
And the deal is, people don't realize how, Tony Alamo, after reading his newsletter, it sends shockwaves, it literally sends shockwaves through my body, because he is so 100% correct. You know what I'm saying? Doing the analogy with Pearl Harbor just blew me away. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that's 100% true, but I talk to people on a regular basis, and they refuse to believe it. That the United States government could really murder innocent people and do all the things that they're currently doing in order to try to establish a one-world government. And I've got this copy of the tape. If I can get someone to make a copy of it, I'm going to drop you a letter in the mail. And Joan, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm going to drop a letter in the mail, but like I said, share this with Tony Alamo. Tell him I'll talk to his newspaper people. I'll let him take photographs of me. I'll talk to him. I'll volunteer to take a polygraph test. I'll do anything he wants me to do to get the word out of what's really happening, because I know he's got to be God's man with all that he knows. And
most definitely, God has shown him everything.
He really has.
Yes, he has. He has.
Have you been with the ministry, Joan?
33 years.
Well, I believe that he, I've read some of his newsletters and stuff, and some of them are better than others, but this one just blew me away, literally.
Right.
It really did, because, I'm just amazed.
And there's another one coming.
I believe you, but Joan, most people don't have the guts to do what he's doing because things happen to him like happens to me. My youngest son was an Eagle Scout, a Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps, squeaky clean. Only had 2 track traffic violations in his entire life, his only record he had. And he's been down 7 years in a bad Arkansas prison doing life without. A movie company from California came to one prison to do a movie about him. So the night before, they had permission there, so they moved him to another prison where they didn't have permission. You see what I'm saying? So they got him locked up in prison. They can kill him. They can do whatever they want to with him. Total control over him. And that's the leverage they're holding on me. He told me to not let that bother him because he don't, you know, he's a Christian person. He's willing to meet his maker and stuff. He said to go ahead and tell everybody in the world the information that I have and to get it out there, and maybe something will be done. But, I mean, it just totally amazed me that I wrote letters to Bush about the World Trade Center attack 3 months before it happened, and now the FBI is all, and the ATF's all tore up about it and upset because I'm telling people and writing letters to people and telling them that I warned Giuliani and that I warned the president 3 months before it happened, and they knowingly didn't stop it. But if you ever read, the KKK put out a book called The Turner Diaries, which is really terrible literature. But anyway, that's the way they get the government, is they steal an airplane and put a suitcase nuclear bomb on it and fly it in the World Trade Center in New York is the way they get back at the government in the end of the book. You see what I'm saying? So the whole thing was written in the book before it was ever done. And then like the Oklahoma bombing, the governor of Oklahoma, a retired FBI agent, by the way, Keating, his brother wrote a book called The Great Jihad, which tells the whole story of the Oklahoma bombing. It was published three years before the bombing happened. It was published before the actual bombing. It tells the whole story of the bombing, basically. And even has some of the names correct to some of the people that are charged with some of the things. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's just amazing how the government is totally in control and going to this one world government thing.
I need to put you in touch.
It's a pleasure talking to you. So God bless you, and you have a pleasant day.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna put you in touch with Pastor Lalo right away.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Joe.
Okay then. Praise the Lord. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, that was a phone call that Peeler made to the Alamo Ministry. To update the story, of course, that was back in 2003. I had interviewed John numerous times, even had John and Tony Alamo on the same show where Peeler apologized to him, and Tony accepted that. So it's an interesting story going way back to see how this whole thing unfolded. And you can see that really there is no freedom of religion or freedom of the press in this country or speech if you do not play ball with the Vatican-led New World Order. Well, I wanted to continue on this November 23rd with an interview I did with John Peeler when I was working for Republic Broadcasting Network out of Round Rock, Texas. And John came on my show numerous times, but this is one particular interview that I did with him, and you'll get a chance to understand him a little better. This is that 2006 interview with John Peeler.
Information about a whole bunch of things, including Oklahoma City. Tell us your story. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. May I, Mr. Kaminsky, may I call you Greg?
You can call me Greg, yes.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, sir.
Go right
But
ahead.
anyway, I'd like to say first off, the lady was talking earlier, I was with the New World Order. I'm no longer with the New World Order. That's why I'm talking to you. But I got a medal from the New World Order. I didn't even know I worked for the United Nations till they gave me a silver medal at a ceremony once. I didn't even know I worked for the United Nations, but apparently I did. But anyway, I'd like to read a letter if I may, and then I'll go into detail about the letter. But this is one of the many letters that I wrote. I wrote this letter May the 31st, 2004, to President George W. Bush, and I also sent letters to most of the United States congressmen, the governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, the FBI, ATF, DA, all the federal agencies. And, it's against the law to lie to a federal agent.
Okay.
So if this letter was a lie, I would be in jail along with Martha Stewart.
Okay, now how long were you a federal agent, just for our listeners?
I've been on ever since I was just about an Eagle Scout when I was very young. I wanted to work for the United States government. Okay. And I was afraid the Vietnam War would be over with. But let me read this letter if I may, Greg.
Go right
And
ahead.
the letter will explain a whole lot.
All right.
The letter's entitled is from Peeler John G., also known as Eagle Scout for the FBI Violent Crime Task Force, and it's regarding U.S. political corruption and terrorism. I went undercover for the U.S. Violent Crime Task Force, combined United States Secret Service, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, FBI, Violent Crime Task Force, Arkansas State Police, Little Rock Police, and other federal agents and police departments around the United States and the world in order to stop KKK and Muslim and other extremist terrorist plans to attack the U.S. White House, the World Trade Center, the TCBY building in Arkansas, Arkansas State Capitol, Stevens Building, Sherwood Communication Tower, and many other targets. I was successful in some cases, and then the task force agents forced me to target Pastor Tony Alamo, this guy was just a squeaky clean pastor here in Arkansas that refused to contribute to or give money to the William Jefferson Bligh campaign, also known as William Jefferson Clinton. Okay, he was supposed to be David Koresh before David Koresh was, but we couldn't get him to take a truckload of weapons. He refused them. Gunsmith Mike Ash, professor, he was supposed to be the patsy for the Oklahoma bombing before Tim McVeigh was. Professor Lane LaRue, KKK High Phineas priest Wilbur Hale, and Muslim Imam Jamal Amin al-Faras, due to their political views that the politicians and task force agents did not like. I was forced to target, befriend, trap, and frame these men for tax, firearm, and other terrorist crimes with the use of outrageous task force involvement. Without my forced involvement, these men could not have been framed and convicted of these federal crimes. Against task force orders, 3 weeks before the Richard Wayne Snell Patriot Day bombing of Oklahoma Federal Building, I wrote warning letters to the United States President and many others, and 3 months before the Black September World Trade Center 9/11 attack, I wrote warning letters to the Mayor Giuliani of New York, the U.S. President, and many others, including the FBI and task force agents. The task force agents recently of the FBI in Arkansas recently forced me to submit the 3 polygraph examinations. I passed the polygraph exams of the FBI Special Agent William W. Beersdorf. His telephone number is area 501-221-9100. Due to my zealous task force involvement, my youngest United States son, Eagle Scout and United States Marine Corps Lance Corporal John Christopher Peeler, was framed for an alleged murder in the very KKK active state of Arkansas, with no body, no weapon, no crime scene, no blood, no forensic evidence, no eyewitnesses, no etc., just KKK perjury and state police and U.S. federal suppression of the real evidence and obstruction of justice. I would like to request an Arkansas State Police and U.S. congressional investigation of these political crimes perpetrated by the Arkansas State Police, federal agents, the task force, and corrupt politicians that allow these terrorist acts to happen. The only thing necessary for evil men to triumph is that good men do nothing. My son's name is John Chris Peeler. He's now number 107832, East Arkansas Regional Unit, Post Office Box 180, Brickey, Arkansas, 72320-0180. And he's doing life without for murdering a guy that he never met. And the bad thing is, Greg, it could happen to you or any one of your listeners or anybody in America. It set a precedent. It happened in Arkansas, which is more corrupt than most of the states of the United States. And things happen here that can and do not happen in other places, thanks God. But, you know, it could happen to anybody, anywhere now. The things I did, many crimes I did, I can't talk about, but the ones I can talk about and I'm willing to talk about, I don't have immunity from prosecution. I can be prosecuted for a lot of these things that I did.
All right, we're going to be back with this story. Okay, John, your son sits in a jail for a murder he didn't commit based on information that you wouldn't back down from to try and protect the American people. I think our listeners would like to know from the beginning the information, the type of information you uncovered. I know it spans a lot of different years, but let's start back at what you think is the most important information that led to this attack on you and your family.
Okay, the beginning of this thing is in April the 19th, 1983. The covenant, the sword, and the arm of the Lord was busted. Some guys named, they were busted, and a guy named James Ellison, a guy named Lackey, and a guy named Richard Wayne Snell. Okay, Richard Wayne Snell was one of the guys that really pushed the Turner Diaries. He was a Phineas Priest, the Invisible Empire of the Knights, the Ku Klux Klan, and he had the KKK, especially in Arkansas and the southern United States, was doing very badly. They got some young punk rockers to burn some black churches and stuff, but their membership was dwindling and stuff, so they come up with this grandiose idea with the help of the Turner Diaries. Have you ever read it, sir?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, anyway, it tells the blueprint of what a lot of white supremacists want to do to try to start the racial and holy war, to try to get the United States government and the blacks against the white supremacists and so forth. They want to start a racial and holy war, they call it. And Richard Wayne Snell was at the front of this, but he was very inept. But Richard Wayne Snell come up with this idea. He was doing very badly, didn't have much money. He come up with a great idea to join for his particular group of the white supremacists to join up with the international Muslim movement that hated Jews and hated the American government, to join up with them and to combine forces to attack the United States government with Muslim money. And what he did, he and his friends, a guy named Wilbur Hale, who was another Phineas Priest, who was into communications and so forth, and then Terry Lynn Nichols also later on. Terry Lynn Nichols went to the Philippines, and other people went to Saudi Arabia and so forth, and Phineas Priest went to these different places and so forth, and what they did, they took $1 American bills. They bleached them and washed them out. They used plates that were made in Saudi Arabia. They used a machine that Saudi Arabia had bought from the United States, printmaking equipment and so forth, and they made these dollar bills into $100 bills and brought them back. That's why the bills now that we use, all the denominations except the one, have a little tiny string in them, and the string is irradiated. You can hold a $100 bill, a $20 bill, a $10 bill underneath the black light, and it'll radiate. I used to have a little device when I was assigned to the Secret Service. I could carry in my pocket, looked like a little pager, and this device, I could basically tell how much money, well, not money, Federal Reserve notes that you had. It's not really money, Federal Reserve notes. And one of the famous cases I did in court, I was against this guy that was a counterfeiter, and the Secret Service instructed me before I went to court, money has to be gold, silver, copper, or paper that's backed by gold, silver, or copper. So I had to say that the guy illegally counterfeited Federal Reserve notes because he didn't have permission. The money we use by definition is counterfeit, is fiat money. So I had to say that he illegally counterfeited Federal Reserve notes because he didn't have governmental permission to do so. And that was just one of the cases I was involved on. But some of these people that I was forced to entrap and so forth, these people, most of them were not nice people. I mean, the exception was Tony Alamo, the preacher from Arkansas. I mean, this guy was so squeaky clean. Now that I'm no longer with the government in any capacity, I called him up on his telephone and begged his forgiveness and so forth. He's just a really wonderful fella. I think he still has a website and a newsletter they passed out. But he used to be a multi-millionaire and have all kind of land and was helping people out around the world and so forth. And he's gone way down now because the government, we tried to give him, he was going to be David Koresh before David Koresh was David Koresh. The whole Vernon Wayne Howell thing is they wanted to make an example out of someone. They were about to do, after Ruby Ridge and some of these other deals that happened, the United States powers that be in the New World Order were wanting to do away with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
Now, you said, if I could just interrupt, you said you were a member of the New World Order.
Yes, sir.
You were privy to a lot of this information as an inside agent, and you were given orders to destroy innocent Americans. Now, how did these orders come down?
That is correct.
What did
yes,
they,
sir.
You know, I mean,
they tried to at least convince. Okay, I would meet at certain places, like here in Arkansas, and I've read in different places around the world, the United States. But in Arkansas, I met at the TCBY building, the country's best yogurt. Right. Bill Buford and Glenn Jordan had an office there. Agents, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Fire. Some of the people that planned the Waco massacre, they called it the Waco turkey shoot. But they had me convinced before the deal happened. I volunteered. I'm a very good shot with a weapon, qualified as expert with many different weapons. But anyway, I volunteered to go down there in person. After they showed me a picture of a young lady, they said that he was sexually abusing and so forth. I volunteered to personally go down there and take him out on the out count to terminate with extreme prejudice Vernon Wayne Howe, also known as David Koresh.
All right, we're going to get...
Broken lines, broken strings, broken threads, broken springs, broken idols, broken heads, people sleeping in broken beds. Ain't no use jiving, ain't no use joking. Everything's broken.
John, I want to break in here with a call, if you don't mind.
Sure.
As a person, I like North Dakota, by the way, anyway. And Haley is from North Dakota. She's in a live chat room listening to your story. I think she might add something to what's going on. Haley, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi, Greg.
Hello.
Hi. We're sitting here enjoying your show live in a room full of people. We do this. We listen to RBN.
Fantastic.
And we enjoy all the alternative news that we can get.
Okay.
We are truth seekers.
Well, you know something? You keep listening. We're going to keep fighting away, and RBN is going to be on the front lines all the time, getting your voices and the voices of many, many people on the air. So go ahead. You have a question for my guest?
Yes. I have a question for the jackboot, your guest on the show this afternoon. What do you want from the American people? What goes around comes around. I cannot believe that you would have the audacity to get on a live radio talk show and whine because your son is sitting in prison when you and many other jackboots were involved in the murder of women and children at Waco. I can't believe this. I cannot believe that you would... What do you want the people to do for you?
I want the people to realize the truth because obviously you're not a sheep. But the average person...
That's right, sir. I am not a sheep.
But the average person in the United States is waiting to be sheared. And I've come to the realization that what I did was wrong. I've sinned and come short of the glory of God. But like I said, just because... I'm a bad person, an evil person, whatever you want to call me. But like I said, maybe you're a saint. I don't know who you are, but I'm saying just because you're a good or bad person, they shouldn't take it out on your children. Even the mafia years ago didn't used to do that sort of thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They've done all kind of evil things to me, and maybe I deserved it most. I got more holes in my body than God put there. But go ahead.
Well, anyway, I just thought I'd break in for Haley.
Okay,
she made a point and caught me a little off guard. I didn't. We never screen calls here.
Well, I understand.
And, we might as well deal with what people are thinking. And the point is, she's saying that you were involved in this, and then why should you now go forward? And my point is this: that you may have committed some things that you regretted. But I commend you for realizing what the truth was and to alert the American people of what's going on. Because I think a lot of people were involved in things they didn't quite understand. And maybe that was your case.
Well, I'm afraid you're exactly right. I was rather idealistic. Like my boss used to tell me years ago, if you could stop Adolf Hitler from coming to power by going and assassinating him before he messed up the whole world, would you do it? Of course I would. And that's where I was at. And, of course, they programmed me to a large extent. I've been to so many training sessions. I did what I was told to do. Just like the Nazis at Nuremberg, orders are orders. I was following orders. When they told me how evil David Koresh was, Vernon Wayne Howe, I was ready to go down there and personally assassinate him.
Right.
But the way they handled the whole thing was totally wrong. And they told me they were going down there to kill men, women, and children to take out his... Bill Buford said they were going down there to take out as many of him and his followers as they could to make an example out of him.
Right.
And I didn't even think that was right at the time and thought that was going overboard.
Okay, so let me continue. John's, I only got a couple minutes. So what I wanted to mention was that was quite interesting. Some people that called in felt that way about John. I always felt that forgiveness is an answer to anything like this, and the information that he gave to come out. I don't don't subscribe to what he did prior to coming forward with the truth, but a lot of the information that he gave helped to really give you an idea of how things really operate behind the scenes, and I thought that his shows were valuable in that respect. Now, fast forward, John, the last time I spoke with him wasn't too long ago, maybe a year ago. In fact, I did an interview with him a year ago, and he's still trying to get his son out of jail, and he's still trying to come forward with information showing people really what the Alamo Ministry was about. He was not allowed to testify at Tony's trial. That was incredible, and I talked to him about that, and he basically stated that yes, they told me I was ready to come to the trial, but then something happened, and they never ever called me again. So basically, who knows if Tony's original attorney, who he's not with, he got rid of, was in cahoots with the prosecution. Back tomorrow on the Investigative Journal.